As we restore the spinal engine, the first area we really need to pay attention to are the two ends, really the feet and the neck. Often wherever the support is lacking below, the neck will try to make up for. So if I'm sitting in a chair slumpy, my neck is going to try to hold me up straight, and this is going to cause a lot of tension. But it's a trade-off our body is willing to make for the restfulness of leaning on something and because our lung capacity is so great here. At the same time, we get up and we try to move, and we've blocked our spine's ability to drive when we're ready to walk. So restoring our most important movement patterns, breathing, walking. You could argue resting, sitting and resting in you could kind of argue that, throwing, lifting. And lifting is really moving things, carrying and moving things. Okay, Deb, get back to the subject. So the biggest risk is if I do things on this plane. And I used to just whip my neck around when it wasn't fully supported by my shoulder girdle. So the neck loosens up when it has the support below. It also tightens up when some other part of my spine is rigid. So these are all interconnected, and I can only get so far today with this region. So I also want to get rid of some of the bad ideas out there. Like one of the great ideas, we can look through history and see that the center of the ear and the tip of the nose was angled slightly downward when humans were primarily locomoting as they were designed, without sitting around slumping on chairs, laying down when they talked, riding on a horse where the pelvis had plenty of support. I don't know. So why did I say all that? So we know this is a symptom of healthy support below. The problem is people fake it and they try to tuck the chin. This is a disaster. Do not try. What we want to do though is eventually make enough space that our body can move back onto its full support. So first of all, do not ever just try to tuck your chin down. Not a terrible idea. Even then, even if I had the space, if I muscularly try to do that, it might be that I have a receding jaw. And it's going to just cause cranial stress for me to do that. In some practices, we even, practice making this space here at the back of the mandible as part of the overall redesign. So the first thing I would suggest is find juicy ways to make space back here. Whether it's just letting my chin tip a little and my head shift back a little and then check. The other is let's start using the whole spinal engine to support the head. What this will look like are side bending turns. Whether my hip is doing a side bending turn. And then you can't tell from above, but if I'm walking in a straight line, what's really happening to my neck when it's all organized is something like this and something like this. So let's say I was in a side bending turn here, and then I take my spine and untie it. You've seen this in dance. So these diagonals, they're these spirals and diagonals that start to wrap, make these healthy wrapping around the spine, around the hips. So what am I saying? So one thing is when we're doing African dance, pay attention to your teacher's face. If their face is forward, something else is turning. If their body is straight ahead, sometimes their face is on a diagonal. The spacious feeling. Second, when you're dancing, always check that you have enough support, that this is free. Third, do not just fling on the sagittal plane. Fling. When a healthy neck extension is going to come from below. And it's not all just hitting one spot. I heard a chiropractor once had told one of my students that African dance keeps him in business because he gets to do so many chiropractic adjustments. So this curious neck movement, not this insistent fling, and then it all goes to one spot, fling. So this whole shoulder girdle, the rib cage, the pumping of the spine, that's what's moving the neck. And when my body is fully supported, my head and everything moves together. Now guys, I'm not all the way there yet. I still have some weird old bad habits where I just fling my head around. I'm working on it. You can't change all this suddenly. You need to practice in low stress environments without drums and getting excited, okay? Just look out for these over the long run, because whatever we're doing now is gonna affect us in 50 years when we're still dancing together, right? So the other is look for the support for the neck below. Is my shoulder going back and down? Is my hip, like, am I making space? You know, is the movement authentically connected to my spine, the movement of my head and eyes? Now, one principle of Goda is head control, meaning that this joint up here is supposed to be so yummy, I could do almost anything and still look at where I'm going. So this is a human superpower. So when we lose this, man, it's very expensive. It's a very expensive bad habit. All right, so let's now look more towards primal movement, which is something I coach. So say we're doing something like child rockers and I'm off to one side or the other, right? And I start to do drop-ins. This isn't a formal movement that I teach this way. I'm just trying to do it for the camera. But where my hip's coming back, I'm loading a hip, then that same side shoulder comes down and back, then my neck is like this. And so this looks like this when I unwind the spine. So notice this nice, we do this stretch, we're like, we do this stretch. So in your primal movement practice, when you have the weight rooted in your hip and you take that same side shoulder down and back and you keep looking straight ahead, you should have this feeling we call like a long neck or long ear. I don't know what BAM calls it something, but notice I'm doing this. So if you're a modern dancer or an access syllabus person, you're gonna find times. And finally, okay, back to you African dance nerds. Some of these old dances use this like mirror, and it helps us create this spiral that includes, and Yusuf Kumbasa is very clear. He's like, use your, connect your eyes to your hands. That starts to guide the rest of the spine to support the neck. Okay? Thanks for listening. I call what I'm doing, it's a bunch of things. So many things I kind of can't say, but I'm teaching movement longevity, because we're all supposed to be able to dance wildly till the very end, which is not supposed to be soon. And my website is movingasdesign.com. I'm also a coach for primal movement and Goda. Bye.